Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So we're back with a Xayah supplementary guide. Now this is sort of a new build that's going around for Xayah and Lucian, and this basically is a very strong 3-item power spike build, but you're going to be a lot weaker in the early stages of the game. So you pretty much only want to go for this build if you're already getting very fat at the early stages of the game. And the reason for that is, as you guys can see, your first item is going to be Infinity Edge. Now the issue with Infinity Edge as a first item is it isn't really very strong, because you do get the huge bunch of AD, you do get the crit rate. However, the crit damage increase isn't very useful at the beginning of the game because you only have 25% crit, so you're losing a lot of value, and especially because Infinity Edge is a really expensive item. It's 3,400 gold, and like compared to other items you could build as your starting item, like for example the stormraizer, it's only 3,100, it's 300 less, and it is a way better first item, which is what Xayah normally goes for when she's not going for this build. However, the main reason why this build works is on second and third item, you get Navori Quick Blades and Charge Blade. So these two items both do really well when you have 75% crit, but obviously you can't build both of them in the third slot. Matter of fact, Infinity Edge is generally better as a second or third item as well, but you can't have every item be a second or third item. Something has to come first, and out of the three of these, the best choice is Infinity Edge, because at least you get that starting AD and a little bit of extra crit damage and crit rate. So you go for the Navori Quick Blades. This gives you more AD, more crit, and of course the ability haste. So this of course will also reduce the cooldowns on your basic abilities, and Xayah loves this because you can spam more feathers, and of course you can get your pullback of your feathers more often, which is basically what Xayah is all about. So this is really great for Xayah. Then you go for your third item, which is Solari Charge Blade. Now what Solari Charge Blade does for you, of course, is gives you even more crit. You get to the 75%, gives you more ability haste, so again, more pullbacks, more feathers, etc. And you also get the attack speed, which is not the most important stat, but hey, you know, it is useful. Then we get the Sunburst, which basically, whenever you use ability, you do get the Radiance stacks, and whenever you attack something, you can prompt the Radiance stacks to do bonus magic damage, and that can actually even crit. So basically what this gives you is you're going to have really high damaging basic attacks the moment you complete Solari Charge Blade. So basically with these three items, you get super strong basic attacks because of Solari Charge Blade, and because Infinity Edge boosts the crit damage, and you can crit on the magic damage as well. You get a lot of reduced cooldown because you have triple crit items, and you have the Navori Quick Blades to reduce the cooldowns of your abilities, so you can spam your abilities a lot and at the same time do a lot of damage with your basic attacks, which is why it spikes on 3 items. When you're at 1 item, it kinda sucks. When you're at 2 items, it really isn't that good. When you hit 3 items though, the spike is astronomical. It's like going up a steep mountain. And of course, you do get the Maul Reminder as your 4th item for the armor penetration as well as the grievous wounds. Now, you do not ever want to get Maul Reminder early. You don't want to delay that 3-item power spike because, as I said, 3 items is where you spike. But if you really need to, you can of course get the Executioner's Calling a little bit earlier on for the anti-heal. That 800 gold for the anti-heal is going to be worth it in matches that you need it. And finally, you round it off with a Bloodthirster. Of course, Xayah already has 2 safety tools with the Stasis as well as the ultimate, so you don't really need a GA here. Instead, you can go for the 100% crit with the Bloodthirster. Gives you even more AD and more crit, and of course the main thing, which is the physical vamp and the shield as well. So this will give you 100% crit with the armor penetration, with the stasis as well. And generally for the boots, I like to go for stasis, and I like to go for the boots of Furor because I do enjoy that extra movement speed that I get. For the runes, you want to go for Lethal Tempo all the time. It just got buffed as well, and you do get that bonus attack speed, which is really useful for getting out your feathers more quickly. So you get attack speed from here, and you get attack speed from here, and you get attack speed from your W. That's more than enough attack speed, which is why we can afford to go for like all these like damage like AD items, which is going to give you a lot of attack speed and a lot of AD, so you're going to hit like a truck. And obviously for the second one, we go for Hunter Vampirism. Pretty much not really a surprise here, especially since you only get to Bloodthirster as your last item. So you're going to get your main lifesteal from here throughout the game. And for the Resolve rune, you normally like to go for Nullifying Orb. Of course, for the early game, Shield as well as later on in the game can come in handy. And lastly, I like to go for Nimbus Cloak, because you don't need Hunter Genius anymore because you have Navori Quick Blade, so it's a waste to really take Hunter Genius. Xayah doesn't really need anything else, like she doesn't really need Mana Flow Banshee, you don't really need to take Sweet Tooth, and Demolish isn't really the best on ADCs, so I just take the Nimbus Cloak because having a little bit of extra movement speed when you cast your summoner spells is always going to be handy, so I do like taking the Nimbus Cloak. And of course for the spells, Flash and Exhaust. Alright, so without further ado, we can talk about the gameplay. Alright, so now we're going to get into the gameplay, and as I mentioned in the build section of the video, you really only want to go for this build if you are already fed in the early stages of the game, because if you're even or if you're even behind, you're gonna feel really weak when you go for Infinity Edge as a first item, because stormraizer is just so powerful as a first item. It's really strong as a first item. You really want to go for stormraizer unless you're super duper hit like I am in this game. Of course, that's kind of a little bit of a spoiler, but I've already mentioned multiple times you only go for this build when you're a hit, so it's kind of obvious that I'm actually gonna end up becoming a hit, which is why I end up going for this build. And of course, both the Stormraizer as well as Infinity Edge builds out of BF Sword. So you always go for like BF Sword as your first item because you don't really know whether you want to build into Stormraizer or you want to build into Infinity Edge. So that's kind of what you generally go for. Now, eventually I'll make a Lucian video about something like this, but Lucian has a little bit more of a discussion because I feel like Lucian is meant to be strong in the early game. So Stormraizer versus IE is kind of a debate on Lucian for me, and I'm currently still testing out what I actually think is better. Anyways, here we get a really nice catch onto Tristana to force her flash. We do also get the exhaust out of Tristana, so Tristana, no summoner spells left. Thresh didn't even bother healing Tristana, by the way, even though Tristana was at 1 HP, which does say a lot about the skill of the Thresh. Didn't even hit that heal button. But yeah, we did get a nice root on Tristana. We got a nice level 1 onto Tristana as well. Here, I get hit by the hook, try to bait the Tristana in, but Tristana doesn't really take the bait, of course. Because if she jumps in there, I'm going to root her and she's going to die. So, unfortunately for us, she does not actually fall for it. So instead, we end up just pushing in the entire lane. Now here, the reason why we don't want to back is we don't want to allow them the opportunity to back, because here we're in a lot more dominant position than them. We still have more summoners than them. Tristana is going to face check right into the Leona, but Leona somehow ends up stunning the Thresh instead of the Tristana. Either way, I do end up getting the kill onto the Thresh. I exhaust the Tristana to prevent her bomb from doing so much damage, but I end up killing her. So in this scenario, I don't really know if the exhaust still goes through because she's already dead, but I did exhaust her before she died. So did I take less damage from the bomb or not? I have no idea if when a person is exhausted and they die, will their damage still be reduced after that? Because technically they are still exhausted, but they're not there anymore. So I don't really even know. But I don't actually think I took reduced damage. They're just judging, like eyeballing it. I don't think I took reduced damage there. So I nearly died. But it ended up all working out all good. We did get the 2v2 kill in the bot lane and accelerated me, to 2.5k gold, which is 1k more than Tristana. So I'm gonna, of course, go for this Infinity Edge first item build. So as you guys can see, I already have the glove, instead of the dagger, which is what you would go for if you're going for the Stormraizer. Alright, so a random ult by Leona into the bush. Probably just a misclick. But yeah, so here, of course, in a very dominant position in the lane at the moment. So pretty much all we want to do is we don't want to let them like farm safely. We want to just pretty much just poke them whenever we can, just do damage, something like this. Another nice engage goes in from the Leona. Tristana does end up jumping away, but we do end up doing a lot of damage onto them. Forces Thresh flash and heal as well. Tristana's flash and exhaust is pretty much coming back up already. We spot the Akali coming in from the mid lane, so we're gonna of course back off so that we don't end up dying to a Akali gank. But we do manage to actually do a lot of damage to the enemy bot lane. I'm still at pretty much full health and nearly full mana. Leona took the brunt of the damage there because she was being focused by both Thresh and Tristana, which obviously leaves me at pretty high HP. Thresh spots me and cancels his back. And this allows me to actually get the double root off onto both of them and get another double kill. So this puts me, of course, at 4-0. So as you guys can see, in the early game, I really got fed. It's not even 4 minutes yet, and I already have 4 kills. So that's like a kill per minute. And this allows me to pretty much just back, and I don't know if I can pick up IE right away. I actually do. I pick up IE right away at the 4-minute point. That's how you know you're really fed. It's normally a challenge to get IE before Dragon at 5 minutes already. If you get like IE at 4 minutes, you know you're super duper fed. I mean, you don't even need the IE to prove that. You can already see I'm 4-0 at 4 minutes, so obviously I am super duper fed. And yeah, so here Dragon, of course, is coming up in 30 seconds, and so is the Rift Herald. We're in a very strong spot, so pretty much we can, you know, do whatever we want in the lane as long as we don't do anything too stupid. Really little the Thresh and the Tristana can do to us at this point. Even if like Thresh hooks me, I still think that we win the 2v2 against Tristana and Thresh. Of course, unless, for example, I don't have exhaust, Tristana has exhaust, and I'm exhausted, and Tristana just stacks up her full bomb on me, then of course I do think that we lose. But pretty much aside from that like specific scenario, I don't really think we lose in any other scenario. So here Mountain Dragon is up. Of course, that's the most important dragon, and of course we're also against Shyvana, so we of course do want to contest the dragon. Shyvana goes in as Leona goes in as well. I do get the exhaust onto the Shyvana, and Akali does end up going on me and does end up picking up the kill on me. Akali 2-0-1 and 3-0-1 at the moment. Now as I was recording this footage, I did like leave, I believe, to go to the washroom while this part was recording, so I wasn't able to quite pan the camera to one of my other teammates like how I normally do when I die. So unfortunately we're gonna just see me just dead right there. But here, because of this fight, Akali picks up 3 kills as well as my shutdown. So if you take a look at her goal, she's now ahead of me in goal, which is sort of a big issue. And in the meantime, Riven also getting really fed. She only has 1 kill, but just based on like the minions and all the farm, she's doing like really well. So I'm starting to see a couple of problems emerging on the enemy team already. Fortunately, we did manage to pick up the dragon, but at a relatively heavy cost in my opinion. The only silver lining is the fact that we denied the dragon from Tristana. Not Tristana, from Shyvana. So here everybody is in a skirmish for the Rift Herald, and in the meantime me and Tristana doing the classic ADC 1v1 while everybody else is at the Herald. So unfortunately my entire team does die at the Herald, and the entire enemy team stays alive, so we don't actually get any kills in return at all. We end up losing 4 people, and we also end up losing the Herald. Now the only slightly good part about this is, for some reason, Tristana backed, which kind of defeats the purpose of having ADC to stop the enemy ADC from getting the tower plates. So this pretty much allows me to pick up 3 tower plates. Now I do greet for the 3rd one, so I do pop the exhaust to make sure nothing bad happens. Probably didn't really need to, but just wanted to play it safe. So I do get 3 tower plates. That gives me 450 gold, which is pretty much more than a kill. So I think I got a lot of value there. Brings me up to 6.7k gold. Of course, it's still not competitive with the Akali and the Riven, who is now 3-0-1 and 4-0-3, not respectively, but it's the other way around. So Akali 4-0-3, Riven 3-0-1. So unfortunately for me, even though I'm really fed, enemy team is really fed as well. So it's basically gonna be who can carry harder at this point. I have the IE and Navori Quick Blades at this point. However, as we know, the 2-item Prime Spike is good, but it's not great. So we want to get to that 3rd item, we want to get to that Solar Recharge Blade, but because of how fed Akali and Riven are, we do need to get ourselves the stasis a little bit sooner, because if not, we're just going to get popped by Akali, especially in an instant. So we can't afford to be too greedy with our build. We do need to, of course, play with a little bit of caution, and of course get ourselves that stasis. Okay, so here, we're still in the lane, pretty much in an isolated 2v2, so here we're going to try to get a catch onto the Thresh. We do get the Thresh, and Tristana gets caught as well. She does end up buster shotting me away and then jumping away, but unfortunately the rest of our team here, the rest of the enemy team here is kind of trying to set up a sort of a dive. Doesn't really quite end up becoming a dive, but they are all in this area. Leona goes in onto the Riven, Akali comes in as well. Akali with the ultimate. I try to dodge out her abilities with my ultimate. I do get the exhaust as well as the pullback onto the Akali. So I do pick up the shutdown with my final auto attack in a really close, like pretty much 1v1 on the side. However, despite getting the shutdown onto the Akali, the Riven does pick up a triple kill. So now Riven 6-0-1. It's sort of one problem becoming another problem. I quote unquote solve the Akali problem, and Riven now becomes a problem as well. So now me, Riven, and Akali are all at pretty similar goal. We're all at 8 point something K goal. But the issue is that on the rest of my team, everybody else is at 5k goal. I'm the only fed member of my team. Whereas on the enemy team, we have a fed Riven, we have a fed Akali, and Shyvana is more fed than the entire rest of my team as well. So this is starting to become a major issue. Of course, one of the really good points of Xayah in this particular match is how she pretty much counters the entire enemy team. If you notice, Riven wants to jump in on me, Tristana wants to jump in on me, Thresh wants to hook and go in on me, Akali wants to jump in on me as well, and so does Shyvana. So pretty much the entire enemy team wants to jump in on me, which pretty much is the best team comp to play Xayah into. Because this allows me to just pull back my feathers and root them. Of course, I don't necessarily want Akali to hit her shuriken and jump in on me, but I'm saying is that if any or all of them are on top of me, I can of course get the I can get the feather pull to actually root them all and do a lot of damage, as well as try to appeal for myself. So this is kind of a relatively good team comp to play Xayah into, which is pretty much the main reason why I actually picked the Xayah in this team comp. Here I actually pick up not only the stasis but also the Executioner's Calling, because I do feel like I need to start cutting healing, like on the Riven for example with her Death's Dance, and even Akali with her what's that called? The Rift Maker. So a lot of healing, especially on the fed members of the enemy team. So here Shyvana is on the dragon, but she's on the dragon alone. So this allows us to get off a little bit of free chip damage onto her. I proc Riven's bone playing, and here you can see the entire enemy team coming in on us. Here I ult because I expected them to jump in on me. Turns out they did not, so I kind of blew it out a little bit too early. Here I flash out and try to get the kill on Riven. Unfortunately, Riven ends up getting a kill on me instead. But I did get her low enough to allow my team to finish her off. Master Yi gets a 1.1k shutdown, which is going to be really helpful for getting Master Yi into the late game. Now, he doesn't really have a lot of gold on Master Yi. He's only at 7k gold, but that's going to help him a lot into trying to accelerate his build. So I don't quite mind that at all. Unfortunately though, my team pretty much gets wiped, and the enemy team does pick up the Infernal Dragon. Now in the meantime, Darius is just simply split pushing. Now Darius' backstory here is that after dying the second time to Riven, Darius pretty much got pissed off and he decided to never join the team for team fights. He's just gonna stay in his lane and split push all the way. Now, the good news here is that at least he's not like running it down, at least he's not inting, at least he's not exactly trolling. He's at least doing something useful by pushing towers is what I'll say, but he's pretty much not gonna really join us for team fights. And he hasn't really been joining us for team fights ever since that Herald fight that he died to the Riven for the second time. So here is our next Herald fight. Really nice stun goes in from Leona. I try to chain, I do get the chain CC with my root, and Riven goes in really deep and does end up getting out with very low HP. Darius ults a pretty much full health Akali for some reason. I try to stack up my feathers and I pull them back to secure the Rift Herald, and now me and Darius are on the run. The rest of our team is dead, and we still have the 2 fed members in addition to Tristana on the enemy team. Looks like they aren't chasing though, so instead I'm just going to pick up the Crux to of course keep my farm up. Now, Darius, despite being pretty obviously tilted, does ping me to actually take red buff, so he definitely isn't trolling, he's just probably just pissed off, but he's still trying to actually win the game. So here I do get the Herald Empire recall, so I can recall and immediately and pick up my second item component. Now of course I'm now under 900 gold away from picking up the Solari Charge Blade, which is where I'm going to be really strong. And my goal is still competitive with both Akali and Riven, so I'm kind of keeping on par with them and making sure I don't fall too far behind when it comes to the goal, so that I can try my best to carry my team and to the victory across the finish line. So here, me and Katarina are in the mid lane, and Akali tries to go in, but obviously me and her are both equally fed, and we're 2v1. Unfortunately here I get a little bit overzealous and end up getting popped by the Tristana. Now here, in my opinion, that wasn't really a bad play. I thought I had exhaust on the Tristana, but ever since that exhaust range nerf, a lot of times I found that I hit my exhaust but it doesn't actually connect because the person is out of range. And I thought that the person was exhausted, but the person actually really isn't. So that's sort of what happened there. I thought I exhausted Tristana, but I didn't, and by the time I realized that she wasn't exhausted, I pretty much just already died. So I shouldn't have died there. I should have gotten a relatively easy kill on Tristana there. Fortunately, I kind of messed up big time. But luckily for me, my team is actually pulling their weight and actually is able to get the team fight victory. Darius picks up a double kill, and we managed to kill all but the 2 actual fed members of the enemy team, which is of course the problem. So I'm definitely a little bit worried here. about my team, whether they're gonna just lose 2v4 to the two fat members of the enemy team. Can definitely see that happening, not gonna lie. So here I got the Herald. I do channel Herald into the mid lane because we have 3 members of the enemy team down, and this is a relatively good time to pick up Baron. Now, of course, this could become disastrous if both Riven and Akali just go in on us right here, because as I said, they're really fat. I'm kind of really scared of them doing that. But thankfully, by the time Akali realizes anything is happening, we already picked up the Baron. Leona goes really wide, but does force Akali to panic flash over the wall. So we do blow Akali's flash for pretty much no good reason. But yeah, we are able to pick up Solar Recharge Blade. We are able to pick up the Last Whisper. And we are at the 3-item power spike that I described from earlier in the game. So at this point, we should be incredibly strong. So here, we're just going to quickly just pick up farm that we can see. So we're going to quickly pick up the Krug. We see red buff coming up. And we're going to, of course, take the red buff. Now, Riven is pushing in on the side lane, so I'm trying to respond to Riven's side lane push as well. I have Darius in tow, so here I'm just trying to see if we can set up a trap for the Riven. Now, here I wait for Darius to come, and I'm just going to auto-attack the Riven. With the red buff, I can slow her down so that we can pretty much run her down. Does force Riven to flash, which pretty much allows her to escape. Not really, though, because you can see that Master Yi, Katarina, and Leona are going to cut her off. So Master Yi goes in. Of course, I'm way too far to really do anything to help the situation. But Master Yi does pick up the kill. Looks like he forces Tristana to flash as well. Tristana is left on 1 HP. Pretty unlucky. But we do end up picking up the kill onto the Riven, which is, of course, a really important pick. Considering, number 1, we have Baron online. And number 2, the Dragon is coming up really soon. So here, we're just going to quickly take down mid lane tier 2 tower. And we're going to then fall back onto the Dragon to pick it up. So one other thing we could have done here is we could have brush camped them in one of these 2 brushes, because Shyvana most likely will face check for Dragon. So if you guys see, they did face check the brush that I was talking about. So if we actually just camped there with the Leona, we could have easily CC'd somebody and got a free pick. But we instead just chose to go for the Dragon, which is an alright play as well. I'm just pointing out for you guys that sometimes it's a smart thing to do is not just go straight for the Dragon, but to just camp them, get a free kill or 2, and then pick up the Dragon. So here, Baron buff has of course expired. We did get a couple of towers with the Baron buff, so not all that bad. Pretty good value. Here I'm spotting Shyvana coming in toward my team. Here I'm waiting behind them because I'm trying to bait them into taking a bad fight, and then I come in with my damage and kill them all. But unfortunately, the enemy team does not actually fall for the bait and doesn't actually commit to any kind of fight with my team. So I'm just going to walk forward and then clear the wave, and then we can recall. So here I got my Molo Reminder, so 4 items completed, including the penetration one, and we only have the Bloodthirster left to go until we get full build. So now I'm at 15k gold now. I'm finally overtaken both Akali and Riven in terms of gold. But of course there's 2 of them and there's 1 of me, so this is still going to be a really challenging endeavor for me. Now, fortunately for me, Master Yi is kind of catching up. So he is going to be putting in some work as well, which is what I like to see, of course. And yeah, so here I spot the red buff spawning. At the same time, I see that my team might end up fighting in the mid lane. So I'm kind of just hovering behind the mid lane. Behind them in the mid lane. I see that the fight isn't really going to happen. So I go to the red buff. Then they start walking towards the enemy team. I was so afraid the fight would break out. Thankfully it does not. I ping for someone to stop the Riven. I'm doing it myself actually, but I thought that we might be able to get a pick onto the Riven. Now Riven, you can see, is walking through the river toward my team. It looks like she's about to get herself caught. Unfortunately, Akali is there as well, so this is going to break out into a full-on fight. Here I'm trying to get myself there as quickly as possible, but Master Yi already dies to Akali. Here I'm just going to attack whoever I can, that being the Thresh. I'm able to pick up the kill on Tristana as well. Akali comes in, I exhaust her instantly. Katarina picks up the kill onto the Akali, and at this point, looks really good for my team. I'm going to quickly clear out these minions, and yeah. So here what we really want to do is try to pick up an inhibitor, if at all possible. So here I have my W on. I'm trying to get down the inhibitor. Shyvana tries to go in. And I'm just going to quickly just get the kill on her. Leona goes in, chain CCs onto the Riven. But Riven is really tanky with the Death Dance especially, so we aren't able to actually get the kill onto the Riven. We run out of minions and we're all running pretty low on HP, so we don't really want to force the mid lane tower because we could get caught by the Riven, especially with the Death Dance and the resets. Could end up becoming a really sticky situation for us. So we're not going to take any unnecessary risks, we're just going to reset. And then we're going to look for the Baron. Because we did get that free pick onto Shyvana when she was trying to defend the mid lane inhibitor. So they don't actually have a jungler anymore. So this allows us to pretty much just walk in and try to go for the Baron. We're in a 4v5 scenario anyways. So here I'm just focusing the Baron. If they come too close, we can easily just turn and go on them. Shyvana is still yet to spawn, so we're in a really good position here. Thresh goes in, I get the root onto the Thresh. Here I'm just attacking whoever I can. And Riven finds herself stuck in the pit. And I do end up securing the Baron for my team. Pretty much the entire enemy team is wiped, aside from the Tristana as well as the Shyvana. Shyvana just spawns. Tristana gets killed by the Katarina. Here I'm just trying to get the wave to push up so that we can actually end the game. We get an ace, and that's pretty much going to be the game. I'm just going to slowly escort this wave up to the mid lane, and we're pretty much just going to end the game from there. So here, actually, since Leona is so tanky, she can just go in, tank the tower, and we can just easily get the kill onto the tower. The minion wave has arrived, so has the enemy minion wave, unfortunately. So we're going to quickly clear that minion wave, and we're just going to quickly end the game. And there we have it. So, leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and goodbye.